I'm
Rawr!
angry about cats.
When did we all get this dumb?
Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about cats.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef.
Come on, man. Use your brain.
The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now.
Okay, guys, it's the Why I'm Angry podcast. I wasn't really sure that we were going to get in and do one today. I've been kind of under the weather. So the sniffles, kind of muddle through the sniffles somehow. Make sure that, you're doing the normals, getting on, follow, liking, and sharing. That's the easiest, cheapest way to support us. This is the chef, and I'm here in the Freestyle Man Cave studio here in Ohio. And it's not going to be quite as long. Going to be kind of a quick podcast, but I did want to get on. This one kind of hits a little close to home. Last night there was a plane crash right before 9 o'clock. We kind of got the call pretty quickly, and with that being said, they they don't know a ton about it yet. I mean, obviously, the inner workings, the inner sanctum of things know a lot more about what's going on than they're going to let you know right now. They're doing a lot of um, investigations. Sorry, I was getting one of our websites up. Doing a lot of investigations and things of that nature, and just I think at this point, we know that the survival rate is non-existent, and I think that we also have a responsibility to kind of wait until we know what's going on and we know the truth. I mean, honestly, as what does it help us to get in and be the first, or to get in and make crazy wide accusations? I mean, I've seen people that are posting about autonomous helicopters, and Lockheed Martin they've been flying, the military's been flying a Lockheed Martin um Black Hawk helicopter for without people in it. And it's like, okay, maybe if that comes out that that's what it was, then people have to deal with that. But at this point, the Army is not saying that there was nobody in the plane. They said they lost three casualties also. So, with that being said, we're dealing with it, and this one kind of hit a little close to home with, you know, it does happen to be, um, people my wife knows in the industry, and she was in the room when you know, they retired the number of the plane. I won't obviously go into anything that she knows, because honestly, she doesn't know a ton more than what is being said on the news. Um, so, she works with a lot of the crews and making sure that, they are legal and things of that nature. And so she did know the crew. Um, and so for that it hits home, and we're just, it's surreal. And I think from the outside, we need to, be those people that take heed of the moment, that we realize that the next 4 seconds aren't guaranteed. We you snap your fingers and you could be gone. And I think we need to, take stock in that. Make sure that, the I love yous are sent out. Make sure that, your final words with people aren't, are what you want them to be. And I think that's something that, me, Honest Abe, uh, Jay Boots, we live our lives knowing that seconds could be their last. And the last interaction you have with somebody, you know, we make sure a lot of times that, the last interaction that we have with a person, um, could be the last interaction, and then that we're okay with that. We try not to live with the regret of, my last conversation with a person was angry. Well, honestly, if my last conversation with you was angry, I'm probably okay with that. And I will not regret what my conversation. If my last conversation with you took an extra few minutes, and I took a second to acknowledge you and say, you know I appreciate you, um then know that that was important to me. And so, you know I think that's really where we need to look at this right now, is that this was a historic, you know, incident. And we need to take stock in our own time. If we're buying time, if we're playing with the house money, then make sure that you know what you know. If you obviously, as a Christian, I believe, and I know that my soul will go to heaven. And you know 64 souls, 67 souls found out um last night. And if you take solace in the fact that it was quick, fast, and all of that, that's true. It was quick, fast, and all of that. I mean, I've always joked, and I always and honestly, going out in the blaze of glory and in a moment's notice, without any major, that's kind of the way that I would prefer it. We kind of harkens back to Allison's grandfather, 92, 93 years old, and went out in a car accident. Basically, he went out, was done, gone, and that was it. And you can say whatever you want. We look back and we can see where he knew his time was short, but he didn't sit in a hospital bed just you know struggling to be there. I played racquetball with him 3 days before he died, and he was living his life full, and right up to the last minute. And I think that that's all we can really attain for, is to is to try to live your life to that minute. And so that's where we bring this heavy heart to this, is that it did hit close to our home. I did see where I don't know whether they released it or just the family released that there was someone in the Dayton area, Centerville, or Cedarville area, that or was going to Cedarville University, that was on the plane. Something that my wife even had mentioned, because of it being Wichita, is that that airport, or that one of the airports in the Wichita area is a base, military um, airport, and so there's a lot of not Wichita dignitaries other than the couple senators that they have flying in and out and stuff like that. But there's a lot of military personnel that fly into DC from Wichita from the base and stuff. So she just mentioned how many of those people did we lose also. Not that those people are worth more than anyone else, but you always hate to lose people who have put have sacrificed their lives or their freedoms at this moment to keep you safe. And although they are prepared to die for you, it's always tough to see them that they have died while in civilian circumstances and not in war. So that being said, our hearts go out to those people also. And I think that we're going to just kind of soak this time in. I have a couple articles that we're going to go over and that, but really, if you haven't given your life to Christ, look into it. Get in the Bible, read John 3:16, read in Romans, read Matthew, pretty much most of Matthew, the 20s or so, and get yourself right with God, because pretty much if you don't know where you're going, in my belief and in my in the way that I know, you're going to hell. You just if you don't know, you're not going to heaven. And then even something that my pastor said last week is as sad as it is. It's the saddest thing to know, to be on the fence and realize that the fence is owned by Satan also. That the fence is owned by the devil. You're that close to Christianity and that close to being able to just, honestly just hop over the fence and just believe. Just not knowing you're still owned by the devil. And so it doesn't say that, in John 3:16, it doesn't say that if you think or if you wonder or if you're if you're on the fence about it, you're going to heaven. It says if you believe with all your heart. And I think that's where we have to be prepared anytime we go out. That bus, that car, that that plane could come down. And it was even interesting to see the last major plane crash in the U.S. Was in 2009, and it killed 49 people on the aircrafts and 1 on the ground. So you never know, in Buffalo, in 2009, and so you never know when your time is, but when your time is, your time is. And so, we just pray for those people right now, and just pray that they, they're in a better place, and that for us here, the ones that are grieving, the ones that feel the pain, that we pray for peace, and we pray for just the light at the end of the tunnel to get through all of this. We're coming up on a break here. Again, just follow, like, and share us. Keep us going. If you'd like to help us out in the upper spot of wherever you're talking, whatever the description of anything of wherever you're watching us from or wherever you're hearing this has a support. I'm also going to add that support to the comments here. And with that, we're going to go into a 90-second break here. hit the wrong button. There we go. Going into the break. Where's it at? All right. D. All right, guys, we're coming out of the break here. Needed to grab something to drink here. I was about to die on that last segment. Almost didn't make it through. I'm still fighting this cold a little bit, and you know, just like I said, just as we're coming through this, um, just think about where you're at with things, and so we are going to get into a couple things I just saw real quick. I've got the okay. So in the news, there were a couple funny, I guess funny. I mean, funny to me, haha. There was a senator that was um, indicted, and then he was convicted this week. Bob Mendez, Democrat from New Jersey. Bob Mendez and his wife, Nadine, were indicted on Friday, accused of corruption relating to a trio of New Jersey businessmen: Whale Hanna, Jose Uribe, Fred Dabes, who were also indicted. The 63-year-old senator and his wife accused of allegedly accepting bribes. Well, this is an older article, but it also kind of goes over the other senators and that have been indicted or convicted of unsavory acts as senators. Okay, okay, there we go. And so I just thought, what better? We'll just kind of go over it. It's kind of funny because he's called Gold Bar Bob, and so he was convicted. He's going to spend 10 years in prison. He's 70 some years old, so he's probably you know it's probably close. I guess he's 60. His wife's 69. She has not gone through her case yet because she has breast cancer, and so she's going through the chemo treatments. But her husband, two other businessmen, and Uribe has been also convicted, but his sentencing isn't until April. I'm not sure what that's about, but whatever. And basically, they took, or they he took almost $1 million in gifts and campaign contributions. Basically, he took gold bars from Egyptian businessmen for information on corruption cases and legal issues and things like that. So, I mean, if you're going to take something as a bribe, a watch would be enough for me. But gold bars, how big are these gold bars? I mean, I'm sure people think, like when I think about it right off the top, I think, gold bars, you know, those things, I think like the gold bars like you're seeing in Italian Job or something like that, where, like, oh, they got this, stamp of whatever and then all that. It could be something small as a gram, one of these tiny like coin gold bars or something like that. But, in my head, I'm thinking he's taking like full on 100-ounce gold bars. And, if you're not taking 100-ounce gold bars, then you're not taking enough of a gold bar. But either way, you know, so he took these bribes. He was convicted on 16 counts, all 16 counts, and was going to jail for it. I did think it was interesting that it was from New Jersey. It is a Democrat, which honestly doesn't matter too much. But, over the years, there have been a few other senators that have been gotten for this. There's Ted Stevens from Alaska. He was a Republican. So, I'm an equal opportunity lender. A federal grand jury indicted him for faced 7 counts of false statements for failing to report $250,000 in gifts from oil company that helped renovate his home. Excuse me. Stevens was convicted of 7 counts, but in 2008, but a federal judge dismissed Stevens' convictions the following year because of some issues, some improperly concealed evidence that would have damaged the credibility of the government's witness. He died in 2010, coincidentally, in a plane crash. So interesting enough. K. Bailey Hutchinson, another Republican from Texas. So maybe we're all the Republicans are corrupt. His former senator from Texas. This is the only living senator that has been convicted of improprieties while in office. That's still living. So she was indicted during the first year in office in 1993. Had a grand jury in Austin, Texas, on 5 charges of misconduct, tampering with evidence. Basically, she was the treasurer of her state, and they say she was elected treasurer to launch her campaign for her Senate seat. And so she used her notoriety, which everyone does. But then she also, they say she used her personal or her work computers and things like that as the treasurer, and her staffers to help out on her campaign. So with public funds, basically, she was, there's a Republican from Minnesota, which I didn't know existed. He served 17 years. David Dernberger faced charges of misusing public funds while in office. He actually used $4,000 or tried to expense $4,000 of lodging expenses for nights at his own condo in Minnesota. He would have been one of the other living ones, but he died in 23. Sorry. Yeah. So there was another one, Democrat from New Jersey. New Jersey's popular on this list. Harrison Williams Jr. Was indicted in 1981 for taking bribes and returning, basically in return for contracts as a part of Abscam. sting operation on FBI operations that resulted in convictions of a lot of Congress for bribery and corruption charges. So that's interesting that he took bribes for the contracts to um, catch bribes and contract and things of that nature. There's one out of Florida, but this was one interesting one. Republican from Florida Senator Edwin Gurney was indicted on charges he lied to grand jury and bribery. Gurney served on the Senate committee investigating Watergate. He did not run for re-election, but was acquitted in 1976. Another Republican from Michigan, again, this guy, I mean, diamond in the rough type dude. But this was in 1920. He spent nearly $3,800 to win his Senate race in Michigan and was convicted in 1920 and sentenced to 2 years in prison. With a $10,000 fine, the Supreme Court overturned this conviction a year later, citing that the Senate exceeded its power to regulate primary elections because most elections are run by their own states. And except for, your federal seats and stuff, but the primaries are run solely by the states. Joseph Burton, Republican from Kansas, was indicted in 1904. Charges of receiving money and services for services rendered before the federal Department of and interceding in a mail fraud case. Another Republican from Nebraska, a Democrat from Delaware, 1903, 1908. John Hipple from Oregon, a Republican. He died before the Senate could expulsion him. So I mean, it's almost like, we've not just gotten into this like old age senators thing, like just overnight. I mean, some of these guys are dying before they even, of course, in 1905, we didn't have the safety water cleanliness. I mean, he could have died of a staph infection. So that could have been what took him down more than even, than anything else, is just a major staph infection or something could have cut his life short. So there was one final one, since I'm from Ohio, since I'm still in Ohio. They did have one special run from Ohio. Just a second here. It was John Smith, the most bland name. He was a Republican from Ohio and was indicted in 1807 with former Vice President Aaron Burr on charges relating to conspiring to commit treason. If you don't remember the history of Aaron Burr was the guy that shot Alexander Hamilton in a duel. After Alexander Hamilton had won, like he just kept beating him by a few votes and things, and beat him out for president, and challenged him to duel. Alexander Hamilton won the duel by shot him, and he retreated to an island just off the coast of Virginia or Maryland. Can't remember which one, but just off the coast, and decided to create his own country. I don't know what he named it, Burration or something, Burnation, whatever, and we'll figure out a better working name for his country. And then he was basically brought up on charges of treason, and I guess this guy was also part of that conspiracy. So he probably made sure he had the guns or something like that. Kind of like this whole January 6th deal. If you drove the bus, you're in the issue. You're going down. So, where we at? Yep, coming back up against another 60 90-second break, sorry. And so give me just a few seconds here and we'll get into that break. Remember, if you want to support us, $2 a month gets you behind the scenes coverage on podcasts. We are trying to get into the habit of doing a morning podcast, maybe 15-20 minutes, just going over some of the weekend happenings. And so if you want to be a part of that, then we sure do want you to be a part of that. And you can get on that for again, $2 a month, less than a pack of Twinkies or a Pepsi. That sounds like pandering for your money, so I'm out of that, and we're going to go into the break here. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, we're coming out of this break here. Remember, again, if you want to be part of the podcast, if you want to to be a part of it and be somebody, then get on, make a comment. If you make any comments, I can see them. They pop up. Most of them pop up. I'm trying to keep watching to Rumble here and see the comments and stuff like that, but they don't come up on my kiosk for some reason. But if you want to be part of the podcast, comments. I'm doing this live right here. I can poke myself and there I am, and hitting the button here. It's not working, so you can see that this is not staged or anything like that. But also, if you get on, there's a email address. If you rewind a little bit, whyimangrypodcast@gmail.com. If you have articles or things, funny thoughts or conspiracy theories, any of those kind of things, get on, throw them on, and email them to me. It's why I'm angry podcast at gmail.com. And, I'll get you on, get your thoughts and things like that on our podcast. I'm always looking for a new article or a new subject to talk about. And I can always shoot them to the guys. Guys can get on and check them out and things of that nature. So, that being said, let's get into our last article. It's kind of a funny subject, or kind of an interesting subject, a strange take on things. But it's the new plan for Gitmo, and I think it's actually a fairly intelligent plan. Um, and this actually is part of one of the rants I just did, that I'll be posting on our next podcast. It'll be part of one of our segments, and so it is that the plan for Gitmo. And I don't know if this is just like an off the cuff, hey, you know what? We got this base sitting around. Trump's just sitting there trying to, is thinking of things to help immigration, to help the country. He's just sitting there, just like, he's not a video gamer. He's not getting on, he's just sitting there on Twitter going, what can I say? Type thing. And you can see that because, or Truth Social, I guess it's not Twitter anymore, it's X. But when you say I got on X, you kind of, you're either telling people that you're on ecstasy and you're a drug addict, or you're telling people that you're on a porn site. So, I think that's why they still say, if you heard it on X, which is formerly Twitter, and then it's like been formerly Twitter for now like a year and a half or so. But anyhow, I think he's just sitting there thinking about things and said, we got this Gitmo. It's got space for I don't know how many people. It's not on our country, and it could hold as many as it's got space for as many as 30,000 undocumented migrants. So why don't we use it? I'm sure that the plan hasn't been completely formulated. I'm sure they're still working on it. I guess there's still 15 people are still being held. The details on how this whole thing will be processed is still not specified. Obviously, like I said, I think it's just a spitball. Let's see. Sometimes the best way to get your idea out and get your idea going is to, like, hey, what about this? And then you see the reaction to media. You see the reaction, some people use the shock and awe and just, whatever comes to their head, they put it out and they see, what the reaction's around. Most of those people aren't the president, but, some people are. And some people use that to great advantage. Now, if this doesn't, if people just go crazy off of this, then whatever. It was an idea we thought about. They're not talking about sending all undocumented migrants. They're talking about holding high priority migrants for facing deportation with criminal backgrounds. So basically, all of those, Venezuelans, all of those, was it Uruguayans, that Peruvians, or I don't know who was, that was opening their prisons and sending their prison populations and their crazy folk to us. All of those characters, instead of just giving them a court date and saying, we'll see you later, we could hold them. And honestly, as bad as Gitmo sounds, I mean, we for the money that we spend on keeping these people in the country, and the money that we spend on giving them social help and things of that nature, we could do that, and then also still have, and we could upgrade Gitmo, I guess is what I'm getting at, is that, you know by saving the money of having them out there, and having to process them through crimes, and or having to give them the money, or whatever that they want, that they need to survive, because a lot of these people have gotten onto welfare and things of that nature. Then, if we could hold them somewhere else, we're still going to buy them food and stuff and pay for their meals, but at least then we know that it's this amount of time, and once they get through all of that, then that's it. They're out, gone, bye, see ya. So I mean, honestly, to me, right off the top of my head, it feels like it's a good solution to some of our problems. Because you know even if we built a detention area or a town near the border, that's still in a country. This is on the tiny island, uh, small patch of southeast Cuba, under an open-ended lease since 1903. We've had this little patch of land, and if they get out, they're in Cuba. You know, if they escape, whatever. You want to have it lightly guarded, so we don't even have to bring them to the judge. They end up in Cuba, and whatever. But I think it's funny, because I think that if you start telling if you start telling people who are coming to the border, and that are thinking about illegally jumping the border, that if they get caught, they're criminals, and if they have backgrounds, that their criminal background is going to send them to Gitmo. I mean, that's a deterrent right there to me. That feels like a win for the government. We didn't really have to start a new policy, other than to, even just say that we're going to send them to Gitmo. Because look at how great, these raids have been. These ICE raids this week. If you look at the border crossing spots now, they had cities of people waiting to get across the border, waiting to get in. Thousands of people. And I'm saying, and they're saying, Fox News and some of those places are saying 96% down. These places are almost ghost towns. 30% reduction, 60% reductions. Just every day is more and more people just leaving, because no, you don't want to really be brought. If you can come in and they're going to slap you on the wrist, or that they're going to you know maybe you're going to get a whatever, you're going to get a court date that, if you don't show up at, they're going to put an arrest warrant. Like, back in my 20s, I had an arrest warrant for 6 months. I didn't know. It was a traffic violation or whatever. And obviously, my wife doesn't like to talk about it because it was during our, our wedding time when I actually found out about it. And she, yeah, so she had to drive the whole time we were getting married and going on our honeymoon, and we drove to our honeymoon and stuff, and then she ended up getting um, food poisoning on the way home, and that was that this. I mean, it's obviously and rightfully so something that I've had to never live down, but at the same point, I think that the show and the determination of showing people that the law is going to the we're going to execute the laws. And I think it's crazy that people think, oh, I can't believe he would put an executive. No, he's just basically telling law enforcement that that it's now time to do your job, and that we're going to bring these people in front of judges. And if you didn't see him firing prosecutors, he's fired federal prosecutors. And so if you're not going to do your job, then we'll get somebody that will. And I think that just the show, just the video of people getting arrested and gangbangers and whatever, and all those people, has been interesting to see their response as they're coming out of the buildings and stuff and being put in cars and stuff. And you're like, listen, you came here illegally, it's illegal, you've had your fun, you've had your time. Biden's not in office anymore, so it's time to go. And as sad, I mean, I really do think that they won. They're pandering for votes. And I think that it's sad because I don't think that a lot of them are voting. I don't I and if they are voting, it's harvested votes, so they're not even getting a choice in the matter. And I think also that if they if they are harvested votes, these people are coming in, and there's they've still got no say. So I think that when it comes down to it, that it is a better deal, getting people to come in legally. They're getting vetted. That more than likely that they're going to be people that we can that are trying to assimilate, that are here for the American dream, and all of that. So I think that executing the laws is the best way to lower crime. You're seeing people mass exodus out of the country. I mean, and then the borders are less and less filled. Just making that show, and then this adding Gitmo to, you could be at Gitmo. I think that all of that is just one more step in the way of if he's dropped the entrance into the country by 30%, then that's crazy. But I'm seeing 60 and 90% is what some of the talking heads are saying. And if that's the case, that's historic. That's fixing the problem in a week or two. That's being on the right way. Now, there's still probably people here that wish us harm, that shouldn't be here. But that's another fix. I mean, that's something that honestly, once we fix the FBI, they should be the ones. They should weed these out instead of going after people that have run for office, or that are that are not are running for or are peacefully protesting the government in charge, and that stands for both sides. We shouldn't be arresting peaceful protesters ever, because that's part of your First Amendment rights. But if you're not peacefully protesting, then there should be consequences. And I I think we'll never 100% know about January 6th. How peaceful, unpeaceful, how that kind of what actually transpired. And I did see that one of the January 6th pardoned people were killed in Indiana this week, at a traffic stop. Uh, he had pride, but and I thought when I first saw it, I thought, oh, closing up, closing the loose ends. But I think this person was just more into more. They had issues. They had troubled past. He had been in prison before for traffic issue, violence in traffic stops and stuff like that before. So I think that there was more to it than just, you know, somehow, I think it was more of a coincidence, which you can say whatever you want to say about that if you watch NCIS or anything like that, that you don't believe in those or whatever. But I mean, from what they're saying, he wasn't a believer. His dad or uncle was really the one that went up there. He's the one that he actually got more time and more of a fine and stuff, because they have video and pictures of him pushing his flag, into the faces of law enforcement that were at the barricade and stuff. So they're saying that is more of a, that he was really the one that brought him there and whatever. But anyhow, we do have full, you know, full evidence that the Ferguson riots were not peaceful protests. We do have the full evidence that, the people in Seattle that took over the neighborhoods, that, that was not peaceful. Those people were carrying guns. They were attacking people, law enforcement and things of that nature, and we didn't indict, and we didn't go after, a third of those people. We didn't go after 1,500 of those people getting arrested. And we went after the kid that shot a couple guys, that got the drop on some guys that hit him in the back, that actually assaulted him, and had skateboards and bats and stuff like that, that were and protected himself and other people's private properties. But we made sure that we indicted him and put him through a full trial and things of that nature. But whatever. So, but I think that's the end of that's it for tonight. Again, love you guys. I really do pray for all our listeners, that you find God, and that in these moments when we are faced with mortality, when we're faced with the end, that you have a peace, that where you're going, where the end is, and that that you know. And so, love you guys. Follow, like, and share us. Get that $2 a month support. Honestly, about $1 goes to us, but that buck will help, with the new things that we have for our for recording, the subscriptions that we have to get for music and things of that nature, and for the just for the overall quality, upgrading the studio, getting more lighting, this whole dark area here in front of my face. We need some more lighting in the studio here to cover that. And, you know, some of it only costs 20, 30, 40 bucks. But, we personally fund that right now. And so we're just asking for some support to get that done. So I appreciate you guys out there. And, we love you.
Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.